Welcome back to another chat with Matt. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're safe and your families are safe too. So today is a real privilege for chat with Matt. We've got one of our close colleagues that's never been on the chat before. I'm going to introduce you to in a moment. What we're going to talk about today is sales and marketing and the importance of sales and marketing working more collaboratively together. If you Google search, you'll find a whole raft of white papers and opinions on the importance of sales and marketing working together and the increasing role of the Chief Revenue Officer and revenue operations, looking at how, when working closely together, businesses can perform far better. But don't take my word for it. Helton, I'm going to introduce you in just a moment. He's an absolute expert in this field, so it's an absolute privilege to have him on. So before we go any further, Helton, how are you?
Oh, thanks a lot, Matt. Glad to be here. I'm very well, thank you. And thanks for that. I'm not so sure if I'm so expert as you were mentioned, but we are very used to work doing this sort of business, looking for how to integrate marketing sales in a better approach.
Absolutely. Well, I think you're an expert, and so we'll go with that. Joining us also, we've got David Cuffley. David's been on with me on the chats before, one of our senior account managers in Mentor, and works very closely with Helton, particularly in our hub in Brazil. David, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you, Matt. Good to see you again, Helton. Looking well.
Thank you.
Yeah, you are indeed, Helton. You are indeed. So let's get straight into this. Let's talk a little bit about, well, give me your perspective, if you will. Why is it so important, first of all, that we've got this integration? And talk to me a little bit more about the difficulties in achieving that integration between sales and marketing.
The first thing is this should be totally natural, right? As marketing and sales areas are we can say they're the same, or if you consider that marketing is part of sales and sales is part of marketing. If you get the theory, marketing is very linked to the sales process. Of course, what we have in distinction is marketing is more linked to develop the leads, and sales to convert these leads in actual sales. But what happens, and I think the sort of difficulties in this integration is how marketing people and sales people see each other. For instance, sometimes marketers are viewed as daydreamers or strategic guys with a lack of real world concerns. And at the same time, salespeople are seen as talkative, people that are very inflated egos, and they're we are the guys that really do the job. The marketeers stay dreaming and strategically thinking, but the guys who really deal with the clients are us here at sales. So this sort of difficulties come from these perceptions, probably misconceptions or preconceptions, we may say, that are badly put into the words.
Yeah, I think you raise a really good point, because actually what we've certainly learned more so than ever over the last year, that if we get a perception of what a role is or an individual is or whatever it may be, it's only a perception, and we've got to remove those barriers of thinking, haven't we, and start to work much more collaboratively in what we do. And what you just described there, whether I'm just looking at your words, whether you're a dreamer or an egotistical salesperson, who says that's true? Who says that's true? And actually, we've got to break down those opinions and focus significantly more on the outputs. And David, give it from your sense, because you must have seen this happening in your interaction with customers. How have you seen that playing out?
Well, it's a great question. It's that archetypal view, isn't it? In a sense, is that the two different pillars, and the communication is at best sort of forced. And what I guess what I'm seeing over the last 6 months, a year, but particularly quite recently with the various with COVID and the restrictions and this and that, and also with the impact of data and so on. I'm seeing that there's just an absolute need to communicate, and you see it in a number of areas. So, for instance, in social media, as social media becomes more and more important, salespeople need to have a lead from marketing, but at the same time, they shouldn't just be throwing out the marketing stuff willy-nilly across to everybody. They have to take ownership, and so without alignment, there's a real danger that you end up with almost two approaches, two companies. And so it is about coming together. So that's what I'm seeing is a requirement and a recognition from both sides, from all parties, that it needs to be done in perhaps a more structured way.
Okay, so you've heard me say on the chats before that if we get this working well, we're flying in formation rather than flying in different directions, which we don't want to do because that's never going to help us achieve anything. But Helton, give me a bit more of a sense about why this is so very important that we get this right.
Oh, well, we have experience with some clients here, global companies, local companies, and what we notice is the client is coming to the sales guy with some of their mind already made by searching the social media and do some sort of previous research about the options, etc. We have a CEB research. It's a recent one, and it tells that 57% of the buying process is already done by the client when the client reached the salespeople. So imagine that we are starting the sales process in our mind, but in fact, in the mind of the client, the process is more than half on the way. So we have really to search this integration. We have to consider what's going on in the customer journey in the buying cycle. I think this is the main goal we as salespeople have to consider.
So we as sales professionals have kind of got a responsibility, if I'm hearing you right, to work with marketing to provide them with a bit of an insight of what's really going on. Some of the content that's created from a marketing perspective is specific, is relevant, and it's insightful, it's thought-provoking from a customer's perspective. Did I capture that right, Helton, do you think?
Yeah, for sure. It's exactly that. And it's all, I think it's evident that this is linked to how social media nowadays has an important role when we are developing new customers, new relationships, etc. So imagine that you have but our messages have to be very, very clear since the beginning of the customer journey. So marketing sales, it's a must. We have to talk the same language. We have to speak about the same needs and how our products and services can fit these needs, etc. So this alignment, it's so necessary. Imagine the customer listening something from marketing, receiving a different message from the sales guy. It would be a mess in the customer's mind. And if the customer is confused, probably he'll gonna buy too from the competition.
I think you're touching on a really key point here around there's a significant rise, particularly in the last year, around digital selling, digital marketing. And again, if you're pushing out content which is not relevant to your either your target audience or your existing base, then you're potentially wasting a lot of marketing dollars on creating that content. So, David, what are you seeing? Again, coming back to real life examples, what are you seeing in terms of that social media space from the customers that you're working with?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. In that's the danger, actually, because it's so easy to produce content, and there's so much content out there that if that content isn't translated into the language of the customer, the specific customer, then they're not going to get the message. And one of the roles of sales in this whole piece is, I guess, making some sense of that message. And so having an opinion, being able to perfectly link with the messages from marketing and translating into the world of the salesperson, because that's where you're adding value, not in driving content, but in making sense of the content and enabling people to buy. And backing up their evaluation so that they can be seen, the buyers in the business can be seen as making the right decisions, rather than just going on, the biggest noise out there. So that's what I'm seeing, is that crucial link through marketing through to sales as it moves from big into specific, the link together, so that the message becomes more and more tangible for the buyers, so they can buy it with more ease.
Okay, cool. So we know this is already happening in the market. Chief revenue officers already have sales and marketing reporting into them. There's a lot of talk, as I mentioned at the beginning of this chat, about revenue operations and pulling all of those functions together so they are flying in formation. But let's just assume for a moment that you're an organization who is not there yet. You've still got some work to do to get you to having a collaborative sales and marketing function. Helton, what would be your top sort of 2-3 items of recommendation that you would give to an organization to help them on this journey?
Oh, very interesting point, but I think the first thing is to overcome preconceptions. Marketing sales guys, please work together. Don't use your prejudice to avoid this sort of let's integrate our areas thing. And the first thing is probably we have to involve the marketing sales leaders. I think this is very important. Although maybe they have the same boss. Okay, maybe not, but the integration passed by the leaders. The leaders must be involved in that, and I think there must be a common purpose when we are considering both areas. Customer success is the main purpose. So we are working together because we want our customer to be successful in buying and using our products and services. So it's a mandatory thing too. And please, some sort of integration between marketing and sales plans. Okay, people have their plans. Okay, let's put this plans to work together too. And maybe the most important thing, train people and prepare people to do this sort of job. So let's talk with the sales guys, the salesmen, and put them to work together as a team. This must be done by some, not just talking, but with process training and some sort of process integration process that can be set up.
So what I really like about that is you talk about making sure that we've got a plan, excuse me, maybe one joined up plan. The leaders are contributing together. The people are trained to collaborate. They're talking, which is vital in everything that we do. And then you're reviewing that on a regular basis. David, is there anything you'd add to that?
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, what's going through my mind is actually it's people, process, and technology. And you need to have all three of those aligned. So, not to overcomplicate it, but there does need to be a process that's pulling them together. They need to have common platforms, and then it's going to, at the end of it all, it ends up with people spending some time with each other on joint goals and metrics. So they're both winning, and when that happens, that's going to pull people together rather than pull them apart. Absolutely.
And Helton, if I had to push you, I had to say, right, first things first, you need to do this as you start your journey. What would the one thing be? What would you say to maybe a CMO and a CSO? Say, right, guys, the first thing you should do is this. What would you say?
Oh, let's start by talking and start to planning how you can do this process. Because if you are considering process, technology, and people, our three pillars of this. The first thing is a strong starter coming, and this comes from probably the way the leaders are seeing this process. I have this experience right now going on with a local client. It's a global company, it's a European company, but works here in Brazil and now Latin American. And we are right now doing that. And we are in a consulting and training program with this client. And what we noticed, and this is, I was working yesterday with the guys. So I was in a meeting with the sales and the marketing people. And what I noticed there is if people open their minds that they must be integrated, the things comes properly. But this is a mandatory. The first step is, oh, let's work together, have this sort of idea, intention, and start to doing things in this way.
Perfect. And I know that you've written a blog about this. We're going to be publishing that blog in the next week or so. So keep an eye out on the Mentor LinkedIn feed. Helton, I'm sure you'll be sharing that with your contacts as well. I always finish these, but so by the way, thank you. That was really insightful in terms of those areas. I always finish our chats, because this is your first time on, Helton, to say, when you're not working and you're not busy merging sales and marketing activity together for organizations, what do you do in your spare time?
Oh, before pandemic, traveling around the world. But right now, reading a lot of books and traveling by memories.
What would be your favorite book that you've read in the last?
I'm just now. I do a mix of things, right? Something from marketing, strategy, etc. Oh, and common books or more. Literary books, etc. Right now, I was reading Obama's biography.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I listen to things more than read.
I have it here.
Yeah. So
recommend that.
Okay, cool. So thank you very much. So for everybody watching and listening, key messages in there around the importance of sales and marketing working together towards a common goal. As we move forward, it's going to be vital, particularly with the growth in digital selling as well. Making sure that those messages are really in sync and in line with what your customers are looking for. Helton and David, it's been a pleasure having you both on. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, Matt. Nice to be here again.
And
Thank you, man. Thank you, David.
Will you come back again, Helton, for another chat at some point?
Okay, thank you.
For everybody else, please stay safe, and we'll see you soon on another chat with Matt. Thank you.